Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Speedify Live Office Hours. I'm your host, Alex Gizas. This is our Chief Technical Officer, Brian Prodoehl.
Hello.
And, we are here to answer all of your questions about Speedify or live streaming. You'll be excited to see I have a new shirt. It's, of course, identical to my other shirts, so you can't tell, but the lettering's not peeling off yet. So this is exciting for me. How you doing, Brian?
Doing good. Doing good.
So this is for you guys. You post questions, you post comments about Speedify, live streaming, how great Philadelphia is, and we will answer them. And thank you. Nice to get the love. There's a whole discussion on Twitter, and how many shirts did Alex actually own? And I didn't jump in, but the answer is I had 2 identical Speedify shirts, and now I've got the 3rd. So no, I'm not literally wearing the same shirt every day, but pretty close to it. So one thing I'm curious about, we're always looking for guests for the Tuesday and Thursday segments. Who are you guys watching live streaming? What software are you using? We will contact the people and we'll get them on. Just tell us who you want to hear about. Yeah. Had GM on yesterday. He was Awesome, talking about teching. And you guys should watch that when you're done with this.
Yeah, it was a good show.
All right. Yeah, you Speedify on vacation. I'm sure. Any stories for us? I took last week off and I biked the Erie Canal from Buffalo to Palmyra. I don't know, 150 miles, something like that. It was fun. Turns out that I'll say, for 30 miles, biking is fun and easy for me. And then after that, it starts feeling like work. So I don't know, doing 40 miles a day or whatever was fantastic.
Nice.
All right. Pyro asks, have you been able to achieve multi-gigabit speeds with Speedify? I was recommending Speedify someone with cable 1.2 gigabits, 40 megabits, and fiber 1.2 gigs down and 40 megabits up? For God's sakes. How can they sell such a product? But anyway, could they actually combine to 2200, 1040 megabits? Brian, I'll let you take this.
So sure. I mean, we test on our, our automated testing and stuff. We simulate links up to multiple gigabits, and so on something like a modern laptop, you shouldn't have any problem reaching maybe 2.5 gigabits. I mean, you won't be limited by the laptop or anything there. A lot of that depends on the server that you have. So if you just have a regular plan, obviously if you have a free plan, the 2 gigs go by really quick. If you have a regular plan, depending on what server you're connecting to and how far away it is, you might see yourself capped at hundreds of megabits. You may see 300, 400, 500 megabits or something. But all of our servers are capable of at least 2.5 gigabits. Most of them are around 5 gigabits, and some of them are around 10. So I don't know. I would think they would probably be better served just by increased reliability and bumping up that upload on that cable connection. Because I see that a lot where they they pitch even faster than FiOS. It's over a gig download, but the upload is it's 40 megs, and they don't really say that in the same marketing materials.
Yeah,
so much.
That's a 30x difference.
I know.
That's at the point where even to try to download at 1.2 gigs,
that's the max.
The acknowledgement
yeah.
packets going back saying, yes, I really got it.
That's
we'll
exactly
end out
right.
using more than that.
Yes. Yep. So if you actually get that 1.2 gigs, you'll probably see close to 40 megs on the upload. I think that's the minimum upload they can offer and still maintain that, I think.
Another question for you. Gordon asks, can you explain what TCP Multiple is and when it makes sense to use it?
Sure. So that is our default transport. So one of the nice things about Speedify is that we offer a few different ways to actually establish your connection between your device and our servers. And so TCP Multi was kind of in a quiet beta in the app for a while. And then I think sometime last year, we made it the default for everybody. And what that means is that from your device to our server, we establish multiple TCP connections, and we kind of load balance intelligently across those. But we really look at how each connection and how each socket is doing. And, we pick and choose really at a packet level, which connection am I going to put this over? But that's really nice in that it helps us get away from some of the issues with TCP where, any little bit of loss can slow the socket down quite a bit. So if we use multiple ones, if any of the sockets slow down, we notice right away, and we can keep doing that. So even over one connection, we'll establish multiple TCP connections between your client device and our server. And as I was explaining a little bit on last week's show, you might think that UDP would be better. You look at a lot of things on the surface, and it sounds like UDP would be perfect. But in real world networks, it seems like UDP kind of gets deprioritized a bit. And so you can actually get sometimes much faster speeds with TCP than you can with UDP. And that's because there's middle boxes that are kind of making decisions on what to drop and what not to. So UDP can kind of suffer from that sometimes. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah. So the auto right now. A lot of our settings have a choice of auto or one of them, and we generally recommend you leave it on auto. The truth is on transport, when you pick auto right now, it's actually the same. It tries the TCP multiple, and if that doesn't work, it'll try other ones. All right. Lee says, what bandwidth sharing amount if both WANs are set to primary? Using Starlink primary, AT&T hotspot for secondary dropouts. Seems like two different scenarios. So let's talk about, so two different internet connections and both are set to primary. How much traffic does each one get? Right?
Sure. I mean, that's the, yeah, I mean, if both are set to primary, it's really going to depend on the, their latency and how well they're handling the data. So we'll still, they won't get an even split of the data. We'll put more over whichever one seems faster, but we'll keep them both active and we'll keep them both connected and stuff. And yeah, having that AT&T hotspot for secondary dropouts, I think that's really good.
Yeah. All right. Tad says, I popped in right the half-hour mark a few weeks ago and mentioned the iOS Shortcuts app was not turning Speedify on or off. Seems to be working now. Good. I reported to engineering that you said that, and then we did a release. I can't remember whether or not they found and fixed anything. It's likely, so I'll just say thank you for the bug report. Yeah, passed along the message, and then they came out with new software. So, all right. Lee says, I use about 300 gigabytes monthly. Is it fair use Speedify to run all through Speedify, or what are limits of fair use? I think we need some limits on fair use, although I think the 300 gigabytes is probably fine. But running terabytes through us with a regular plan is probably not cool, although we haven't really been enforcing it because there aren't that many people doing it.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that about right? But
yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, at some point we're going to have to start telling people running terabytes that they need to pay extra.
Yep. I think for people using us on desktops and stuff, hundreds of gigs a month is totally normal. So yeah, you're good.
All right. Seba11PL says, hello, I found token authentication in Speedify CLI on my Raspberry Pi 4. How can I get my token? I didn't find it in my account by Pubg.
Yeah, so this is, there's some users and some different environments that take advantage of this now. On our back end, we are really busy trying to improve our authentication. And adding different ways of signing into things and adding, making it easier to add other types of devices to your account and stuff. And so I think you'll see a lot more of this from us this year. But at this point, there isn't a way to get a token that works. But yeah, you're seeing the beginnings of that in there.
I gotta say, one thing I'm really excited about that we're playing with is some of the other authentication methods, stuff like the login with Apple.
Yeah.
So you can do login with Apple and you pay Apple and then you log into our app and Apple doesn't tell us who you are, just that you did pay. So now you've got that level of, even if you don't trust us, we don't know who you are, right? And if you don't trust Apple, well, they don't get to see your data. So some cool things coming around privacy. I mean, there are other things where companies can make it much easier for people to just log in with their existing email accounts, which is almost the opposite. But yeah, all kinds of cool things are going to come with the tokens, and based on how you want to use it, you can make this much easier to use or much more private, and it'll be cool. It's Venom says, can you build a server specially only for Pubg Mobile?
So I'm curious what
would be special about it?
Yeah, exactly. I know there were things where, if you connect to a server in a certain location, you get offered up a different type of hat or something. I know there's stuff like that in the past. So yeah, I'd be curious what you would want if you just want lowest latency to the PUBG servers, or yeah, I know there's some location-based stuff that that offers up other content. So yeah, curious what you'd want that for.
Yeah, Marby's pointing out, I just assume everyone knows this, PUBG is a video game. And yeah, for various players, they would like give you new skins if you played, you know, from an IP address in Germany this week. So everyone would connect to our Germany servers and get their new costume or whatever.
Yep.
All right, Lee's back asking, if latency between the two wide area networks are significantly different, what happens?
So yeah, and that's an interesting thing in that there could be networks with high latency with very high bandwidth as well. And there could be like, you know, we'll try it and we'll see how much can we actually put over this, even if its latency is a little bit higher. In general, we'll favor connections with lower latency, but we don't strictly go just by latency. And so when you actually try to do a large file transfer or something, we'll try to size things so that we can keep, you know, both of your WANs sort of at capacity. And it's a little bit tricky, but give it a try. And if you do things like gaming, or you do something where, you know, really you have one WAN that has a significantly lower latency than the other, you may find that you want to set the high latency one to secondary. But I think the top end speed would be a little different, would be a little lower, but the average latency would probably also be lower. So you may want to try that out if they're, yeah, significantly different. But in general, we should try to keep them both maxed up on file, you know, things like file transfers and stuff.
What information can Speedify see? So, important difference between the app on your device and what goes back to the server and what we can see. Because the app itself on your client is looking at what apps you're running and deciding how important they are, but it doesn't tell us. Like, we don't know what apps you're running. It doesn't tell us, and we don't log it. So the client is looking at all these interesting things about your data, which if you heard, you know, but we don't, right? It's encrypted, it's sent to us. So we're getting a little bit of information about how your internet connection is doing. But that's it. We don't know what IP addresses you visit. We don't know what hosts you visit. We don't know what apps you're using. And as somebody from DuckDuckGo said the other day, obviously it would be much easier for us if we looked at that stuff, but, you know, privacy first. If we don't know, we can't leak it. If we don't know, we can't be hacked. We don't have that stuff. It is hidden from us by the client and doesn't go back to us. Would we create a dedicated server for people who want to play video games? Yes, if it made sense. You know, need to hear why. What about our current servers isn't working for you guys as video game players? Why would being on the same server help? And perhaps there's a great answer to that. In that case, we will do it. Gordon asks, I'm interested in InstiConnect, which is a 2 SIM card router antenna for RVers, right? They have their own software, but I was wondering if Speedify could integrate with that system. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with InstiConnect. Yeah, some of those where they just kind of have their own hotspot and their own kind of multi-WAN stuff where they can do failover or something. Yeah, some of those sort of package everything up. If they offer those up independently to something like a Raspberry Pi or, you know, a laptop or something, if they can actually see the multiple connections, then Speedify could just pick them up and use them. So it would depend a little bit on the system, but yeah, that stuff is really cool. So we'll have to look at InstiConnect.
All right. It's Venom says in some countries Pubg Mobile is blocked, so we use a VPN to connect to it. When we connect to Pubg Mobile with Speedify, we get high unstable pings. That's why I asked that question. How far away are you connecting? You're saying in other countries. Is it one country over, or are you, going from the Philippines to Brazil? Because, all right. Pyro asks, how has country-level blocking been effective? Do you find you're making good progress, or are the bad states clearly winning? Take that.
Yeah, sure. I think for the most part, I think we're doing a good job of making sure that people can connect. I think there's a couple countries that have really gone pretty deep on trying to, completely block this stuff from working. But yeah, I think most places in the world shouldn't have any problem connecting.
Yeah. Vigan says, is this a VPN service also? I turn on when I am doing banking and paying bills.
Yes. So we use DTLS for our encryption, which is really like the datagram equivalent of the latest TLS spec. So everything is, everything's encrypted between you and our servers. Everything gets tunneled through.
Dungeons and Druids said, I was looking out my window yesterday and saw a bunch of tech people throwing computers off their balcony. Looked really cool. You ever do stuff like that? All right. Very funny. So, yes, I threw a computer off a balcony yesterday. So whoever Dungeons and Druids really is, they know me or know someone who was here. The computer did not survive. We'll have some video clips. It was fantastic. Also, your Asus router, Brian, I took a hammer to it.
Okay, good. All right. That's good to hear.
We thought about waiting till you come back to the office and having Neil say something like, well, I know you're not smart enough to fix this, Brian, and see if we can get you to waste the whole day. How sturdy was the Asus router? It took a hammering. But it went eventually.
Right. Does it blend?
We don't have a blender here. Or I would know the answer by now. It's a very violent day at the Speedify office yesterday. It was fantastic. All right. Any more questions from anybody? We are here. Let's see. See if I missed any. I don't think so. All right. Well, we're at 2:26. So, all right. So let's see what is coming up. Well, we are going to have a fantastic release next week. I'm so excited. I was hoping to make somebody demo it today, but logistics, it couldn't happen. I think we'll just save that for next week when there's a new release to show, and I will tell you all about it. So, August 4th, I think is tomorrow, we'll be IRLing from Peddler's Village here in Philly. So getting out and about and maybe showing off the next release of Speedify, because there's improvements in there that specifically came out of my experiences trying to do IRL streaming. August 9th, we'll be live with Awkward's Travel. And then August 11th, we'll be talking to Chef Mike. One of his videos hit 1 million views on TikTok. So, time to find out his secret. Come on back, Mike. Tell us how you're doing it. Very happy with the thousands of people we get here, but it's a pretty far cry from 1 million. All right, Tad G says, I asked one. Someone else says I answered it. All right. Let's see.
Right. The shortcuts, the iOS shortcuts.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Glad that's fixed. I don't remember if it was just a weird fluke or if we actually fixed anything in it. I don't remember offhand either, but I'm glad it's working for you now.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And we'll be back next week, same time, Wednesday, to answer any questions you have. Yeah. Maybe I got distracted. Trying to make sure I answered all of G's questions. Yeah, I think that's it. So,
Okay, I didn't
all
see
right.
a second one.
Cool. All right. Good night, everybody. I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. We'll hit Peddler's Village and maybe show off new version of Speedify.
All right.
All right. Good night.
See ya.